Is everybody hanging in there? You ready for another talk, huh? What a great day this is. Seeing a lot of old friends, meeting new friends. There's people here I hadn't seen in 20 years, 25 years, more than that. But, remembering it, I think having a reunion is a good thing. I was talking with somebody about reunion. They said it might not. What's wrong? What? Oh. Okay. Yeah. Can y'all tell that's me? I don't know where the hair went. Somebody asked me today what happened to that red hair. I don't think a lot of people even know that I used to have red hair. But anyhow, talking to somebody about a reunion, we were saying, sometimes reunions nowadays aren't as popular because people have Facebook and they kind of keep up with people and all that. But it is special to see each other eyeball to eyeball, isn't it? So it's just great seeing people. And I think it's great to remember. In Psalm 78, God challenged the children of Israel. They need to remember what he's done. So when you think about what God has done at Clemson, it's pretty incredible. All the laborers he's raised up. And I like that Jason has this worship time. We're going to praise God for what he's done here because, as Bruce said, it's not any of us, it's what God has done. It's been incredible. And I just count it a privilege to be able to be involved or, see some of that. And I don't know, most of you know, I don't know, that I was the first student that the Navigators met at Clemson. So I thought I would tell how I met the Navigators. And a lot of people want to know how'd that come about. And I guess that also makes me old, doesn't it, if I'm the first student. But, and then I'm going to tell a little bit about us being here as staff. But I was here as a junior, and I guess it was the end of my junior year. Several of us from Easley were going around telling about a youth crusade we were having. And I talked out here at Mount Tabor, called the Mount now. But anyhow, at the end of the service, a guy came up to me and said, would you be interested in a Bible study? And I said, yeah, that'd be pretty good. So this guy's name was Bob Ewell, and he was here with the Air Force, or he might have been here working on his master's degree, but he was involved with the Air Force somehow. He came to our room and he did, I think he did the DFD, or Lessons on Assurance. We did 2 lessons. And he said, I'm going to be transferred. And this was at the end of the year. He said, do you care if I give your name to the Navigators? He said, they're coming here next year officially to be on campus. And he had told me he was involved with the Navigators. I'd never heard of the Navigators. I didn't know what that was. So on the inside, I kind of didn't want him to get my name. But I thought, it's at the end of school. He's going to go through the whole summer. There is no way he's going to keep my name all summer and give it to somebody. But first day of fall school, knock on my door. Guy walks in, has a name tag on, Chuck Steen, the Navigators. I thought, uh-oh. He did it. So anyhow, that was my introduction. And Chuck Steen told me they'd come here with 4 guys from mostly out of the military, but they had a house downtown on Earl Street. So there were 5 of those guys, and they told us about a Bible study. And so what's interesting, he gave us a little book and everything. And so the first week, I didn't go. But my roommate went, and he came back, and he said, you got to meet these guys. He said, they tell me they've been praying for us for 6 months. And I thought, wow, that's pretty neat. So I do need to go meet them. What have they been? So they were coming here to start the ministry. So they had started praying that God would give them some students. And so the next week I went, and I got the shock of my life, I guess you'd say. I went in, I didn't have my Bible study filled out. And I think it was Bruce leading that study. He says, you need to go to the back room and work on your Bible study. Said we don't let people be in a study that doesn't have it filled out. So, so I had to go to the back room, work on my study while they're sitting out in the front room having Bible study. So that was my introduction to the Navigators. But I, I, I saw real quick that this was a committed group of people, and they were serious about walking with God. And so Bruce started helping me. I'd grown up in church and had a lot of head knowledge, and Bruce started helping me get that head knowledge into my heart, putting things into practice, all the things you know about. He started teaching and spent tons of time with me, and just trips, and we played sports, all the things that we do in the Navigators. But then one of the things I remember is he challenged me to go to a training program that summer. And I was graduating, so I didn't feel like I should go to do that. And when all my peers were getting jobs with these companies and all that, but I wound up going and worked on a construction job. So I had to tell my friends, I'm majored in math and graduated. What are you doing? I'm working construction in Atlanta. So that seemed weird. But anyhow, it was at that program, I think God started giving me that vision of pouring your life into one person. And I've just always been really drawn to that, pour your life in one person and see what God does, what Bruce was talking about. So anyhow, that's kind of how we got started. And 9 years, you can fast forward 9 years, I was in the business world, computer programmer. And then in 82, I was led by God to go full-time with the Navigators. I went to Memphis State as intern staff, then to Mississippi State. I was there 9 years. And that was in 1992, the Navigators started talking about teaming campuses. Believe it or not, we didn't have teams on campuses way back. You'd have a single staff. So they weren't going to be able to team Mississippi State, so I said, well, are you going to team Clemson? They said, yeah. I said, great. Can I come there? And they said, yeah. So God worked it out. I was able to come here in 1992. So we joined Ron and Leslie Hughes and Mike and Susan Mangrashina. I don't know if y'all know them, but they came here also. And they were here 6 years with us. So we had great time there. God raised up many, many students. And another great thing that happened, and I came here as a single man, so I met Diane, and so that was a great thing. So we were married in 1994, and people had pretty much given up on me getting married because I was 45 at the time, but I was still trusting God, So God came through, but. Anyhow, and I'll tell you a little side story with Diane. The ministry, as you know, the ministry kind of goes in cycles, up and down, different times. But in the 90s, it was kind of a rebuilding time, and the girls' ministry had kind of gone down. I don't know if we had any Hollies here, and I was telling her, I think when she graduated, we didn't have any girls at that time. So when we married Diane, and I thought she was going to be kind of a support person, and do meals in the home, that kind of thing. And she said, I kind of want to do what you're doing. And I said, oh, okay. So I said, let's go into the dorms. Now you can see a change over the years. Jason probably now sees how you can't get in the dorms. But like here, I get a picture of me going into a girl's dorm. So Diane and I go into a girl's dorm to do evangelism. And that was kind of weird even then. But it wasn't so weird to be in the dorm, but just a guy in a girl's dorm. Anyhow, we go in and knock on the door, or we didn't knock on the door. I guess her door was open. We go in this girl's room, and we did our little survey. And one of the questions, if you die tonight, do you know what will happen to you? She said no. She didn't know. This girl was from New Jersey. And I thought, man, this is great because I'm going to be able to share the bridge with her. Diane can watch it. We got to the end of it, and I said, you want to see this illustration we have that can make it clear how you can go to heaven? She said, no. And I said, really? You don't want to see it? And so I came back at her, I think, and said something like, I'm just kind of curious. Like, why would you not want to see this illustration? Anyhow, I came at her 2 or 3 times, which I probably shouldn't do. And Diane told me, when we came out of there, she says, I don't like how you did that. So he said, you weren't real good with that girl or nice to her or whatever. And I thought, well, I'm learning already from Diane. But anyhow, I told Diane, let's just keep going. Something good's going to happen if we keep doing this. Something good will happen. So we kept talking to the girls, and we finally wound up in a room where there were about 4 girls or 5, and they were willing for me to show them the illustration. And so I was drawing it out, and in walks this girl, bubbly girl, just, what are y'all doing? And I said, we're showing an illustration about what the Bible's all about. And she came in eating an apple. That's what I remember about her, is the apple. But anyhow, it was Lisa Langley, for some of y'all who know her, but she's the one that became a Christian out of all those girls. We tried to get a John study going, and most of those girls said they'd come, and they didn't. Some of you know how that goes. But this one girl did come. So it was back down to 1. So this girl became a Christian, Lisa Langley, and I was hoping she could be here today. But anyhow, they're still in Murphree. They've got some family stuff going on, but she's in Murfreesboro, her and her husband, making disciples even this day. So that was kind of the base of the girls' ministry when Diane and I were here. So anyhow, that's a little side story. And then I'll tell you a little bit about our approach to the ministry in the 90s. We'd pray a lot. We always pray a lot, don't we? But especially in the summer, we'd pray for the fall. And then in the fall, we would have a big pizza party. Somewhere, I can't remember how that idea came up, but at first it was kind of small, and it finally got so big, we almost couldn't handle it. It'd just be so many students. But it was a great way to meet freshmen. And we'd do surveys, and from those surveys, we'd go out and then talk to them. And Jason still does something similar. It's ice cream. Gives out ice cream nowadays. But these students go out and talk to the other students. And from that, we were able to start a lot of investigative studies. And we saw a lot of people become Christians. And then the ones who were Christians, we help them grow. And all of you know all the things we do. All the Bible studies already been mentioned. All the Bible studies, scripture memory, all those things. All those things we'd work hard at doing that. And God blessed and honored and raised up many, many great students out of here. And some of the other things we did, besides the spiritual things, we did some of the stuff that people liked. I noticed on the screen, trips. We did ski trips to Colorado on spring break. We did a lot of camping trips. We played sports on Bowman. A lot of times, everybody's familiar with that. We did car washes to make money, and even cleaned the stadium. I know a lot of y'all remember that. That was interesting. So I think one of the things that I know is just, if somebody was in the Navigators just talking to people, not only would they grow spiritually, but they also had a lot of fun just living out life. So that's something that I think goes all the way back to Dawson. Some of the changes we saw in the 90s, if you just think back to the 90s, think about it. I mean, it's kind of surprising how much it's changed, but we didn't even do the email type thing at first. Students might have a computer, but they didn't have laptops. There would be scattered people that had computers. And I can remember one of our students came up with the first email, group email. That was kind of neat to see that. And if you think back, I was talking to Diane. I said, how did we used to get a hold of students? No, I guess we just called them. And Ron, we just call them up or see them face to face. You just go see them. A lot of times you go see them. Like Ron said, you have to go up there at midnight. But anyhow, the emails come in. Another thing change was cell phones. How about that one? Cell phones started coming in. I can remember we took a group to China, I guess 2001, and I don't think any of us had cell phones, but a lot of the Chinese did that we saw. So we were kind of amazed at that. And I know that's changed for Jason, the way they communicate now and how they deal with that. And then I guess one of the biggest changes was just 9/11. You know, when that happened, the security of the dorms really was changed. I mean, we used to could just walk down the hall and just talk to people. People be standing out in the hall or have their door open. We used to pray for kind of like the ringleader in the hall. It seems like on all the Johnstone, all the long halls, there'd be somebody where there'd be 10 or 15 students hanging out. And we'd like to go in there and talk to them, you know, get in with that group. But that changed, and now it's pretty tough getting in the dorms, isn't it? So that was a big change. But a positive from that, it's kind of forced us more to get the students to, you know, reach the students, which is a good thing. So they're in there and they're meeting them and reaching them. So anyhow, some of the things that maybe we might have done some of this before, but I think we started some of this in the 90s was the pre-semester retreat for leaders before school starts. We started the Lake Day. Art and Diane Sandy are here. we did many. They've helped us many times out there on Lake Day, so that was very special. We started the pizza party. We helped students move in. And we had the first Edge Corps team. If you don't know what Edge Corps is, that's a program where the students can stay 2 more years and get help, and also they help us because they bring youth, especially Jason and Christine are fairly young, but when we were here, we were older. We were always thrilled to get some youth flavor, you know. So these Edge Corps people would really bring in youth. And so that was a good thing that happened. And then let's see, some other great things that happened, just telling you, moving on into 2000s. Now, I've been here a long time. I think most people know that, a long time. In 2004, Mark and Patty Bogart joined us for 5 years. A lot of you remember them. They had a big influence here. And Joel Helms joined us in 2005. And Jeremy is going to tell us more about Joel, but Joel just really brought a lot of energy. He was a guy that real joyful and energetic, and he just infused energy into the ministry. You could just almost feel it. And then in 2006, we had another Edge Corps team, Quentin and Chelsea Baldwin. And somebody tells me their kids are sick or something. They didn't come today. I was wanting to see them, but they came. And then Corinne came, and Corinne's going to talk to us in a few minutes, but she came in staff training. So in our last years here, we had eight staff, which was pretty amazing. So we just saw God bless that and honor it, and he just did all kind of things. So as I look back over the last 50 years, I guess it's amazing to me to think about what God's done from those original 5 that came here. And I want them, the original stands up. There's 3 of them here, 3 of the 5. Dave and Doug and Bruce. These are 3 of the... That's 3 of the original 5 that came here, and they just were, it was great. But we started with humble beginnings with those guys and a few promises, and God continues to bless now with Jason and Christine, and I think we need to really keep praying for them and just backing them up in our prayers, and I think God's going to raise up many, many more generations out of Clemson. And we want to give God all the glory, don't we? It's to God be the glory. He's the one that's done it all. And along the way, I think all of us here, you know, somewhere down the road, because for me, it took a whole year. Bruce and they were trying to get me to understand this thing about pouring your life into people. It just didn't happen at first. It's something God does. But at that training program, I started to get that vision. And I think all of us along the way somewhere have kind of gotten that vision of pouring your life into one person and seeing God take that one person and multiply them. And that's just, it's an exciting thing. I love it. And it still drives me today. You know, verses like Isaiah 60:22, the least of you will become 1,000. 2 Timothy 2:2, we all know that one. And then, so as we are gathered here today, I think it's been mentioned before, but as we leave, or just as we think about our time here, let's all kind of renew that commitment to pour our life into one person. Because, I mean, we can help a lot of people, but still thinking about that one person. Pour your life into one person, because you never know what God's going to do. I mean, He'll multiply it. And I'd like to close with Isaiah 51:1-4. He says, listen to me, you who pursue righteousness and who seek the Lord. Look to the rock from which you were cut and to the quarry from which you were hewn. Look to Abraham your father and to Sarah who gave you birth. When I called him, he was but one, and I blessed him and made him many. May the Lord bless all of you and make you many. Okay.